I am just keeping my options open, my wife announced, while swiping through dating apps at breakfast. Smart, I said. Took the day off work, moved all my stuff to storage, broke the lease. She came home to an empty apartment and a text. Kept my options open too, chose the option without you. The coffee was still hot when she said it. I remember that detail because I was holding the cup when the words left her mouth, and I didn't drop it. Didn't even flinch, just kept stirring, watching the cream swirl into brown clouds, pretending I hadn't heard what I absolutely heard. I'm just keeping my options open. Lauren said it the way you'd comment on the weather. Casual, light, like she was discussing whether to order salad or pasta for lunch. Her thumb moved across her phone screen. Swipe left, swipe right. The little haptic clicks punctuating our morning like a metronome counting down to something I couldn't name yet. We were sitting at the breakfast table we'd bought together at IKEA 2 years ago. I'd assembled it wrong the first time. We'd laughed about it then. Now, her phone was propped against the ceramic fruit bowl her mother gave us, and she was shopping for my replacement while eating the eggs I'd made. Options, I repeated. My voice sounded far away, like I was listening to myself through a wall. Yeah. She didn't look up, didn't stop swiping. I mean, we never actually said we were exclusive, you know? Like on paper. On paper. We'd been married for 3 years, together for 5. We had a lease with both our names on it, a joint bank account. Her clothes were in my closet. My books were on her shelves. We had a goddamn fruit bowl from her mother. But sure, not exclusive on paper. We're married, I said quietly. Right. But marriage is it's a social construct, babe. It doesn't mean we can't explore our individual needs. She finally looked up, smiling like she'd just said something profound. Something she'd probably read in one of those self-actualization articles she'd been devouring lately. I'm just being honest. Communication, right? That's what therapists always say. We weren't in therapy. I'd suggested it once, 3 months ago, when I noticed she'd started coming home later, smelling like someone else's cologne. Her laugh sounding different. Brighter, younger, aimed at her phone instead of at me. She'd said therapy was for people who couldn't solve their own problems. I looked at her. Really looked. Lauren was beautiful that morning, the way she'd always been beautiful. Dark hair falling over one shoulder, that small scar on her eyebrow from a childhood bike accident, the freckle just below her left ear that I used to kiss. She was wearing my old college shirt, the one I'd given her on our second date when she spilled wine on hers. She was wearing my shirt while shopping for someone new. Smart, I said. She blinked, surprised I'd agreed. Really? Yeah, really smart to keep your options open. I took a sip of coffee. It tasted like absolutely nothing. Everyone should have options. The relief on her face was immediate. Like I'd given her permission she didn't realize she was asking for. She smiled, that real smile, the one I fell in love with once, and went back to her phone. I knew you'd get it, she said. This is why we work, you know? We're evolved. Evolved. I watched her for another moment. Watched her swipe through faces the way you'd flip through a catalog. Watched her pause on someone. Bite her lip the way she used to bite her lip when she looked at me. Then send a message I couldn't read but could imagine. Hey, you seem interesting. What are you looking for? Something real. I stood up, kissed the top of her head. She leaned into it absently, still scrolling. I'm gonna take the day off, I said. She wasn't listening. Got some things to take care of. Okay, babe. Have fun. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed my phone, and called my boss. Told him I had a family emergency. He didn't ask questions. I never took days off. Never called in sick. I was the reliable one. The stable one. The one with options he'd never explored. I stood in our bedroom, looking at the life we'd built. The photos on the wall, us at the beach, us at her sister's wedding, us laughing at some joke I couldn't remember anymore. The bed we'd shared for 3 years, still unmade from this morning. I could hear her in the kitchen, talking on the phone now. A new voice, lighter than the one she used with me. "No, yeah, I'm free tonight," she was saying. "He works late most days anyway." I did work late. Because I was trying to save for a house. Because I was trying to build us a future. While she was building her exit. I opened my laptop and started making calls. Storage unit. Available today. What size? Lease office. Yes, I understand there's a penalty for breaking early. Movers. How fast can you get here? By noon, I had a plan. By 1 o'clock, I had a team. By 2 o'clock, I was standing in our living room with 3 guys named Marcus, Dave, and somebody who just went by tiny but was 6'7", watching them wrap our furniture in plastic like they were preparing evidence. "This everything?" Marcus asked. "Everything that's mine," I said. "If it's got her name on it. Her mother gave it. Or it's pink. Leave it." Tiny laughed. "Rough breakup?" "You could say that." "She cheat?" I thought about that. About Lauren at breakfast, swiping through options. About the way she'd said exclusive, exclusive, like those extra syllables created some kind of loophole in our vows. "Not yet," I said. "But she was shopping." "Ah." Marcus nodded knowingly, like he'd seen this before. "Smart move, man. Smart move." Smart. Everybody kept saying that word today. By 4 o'clock, the apartment was half empty. My furniture, my kitchen stuff, my books, my clothes, my life, packed into boxes and loaded into a truck headed for a storage unit on the east side. I stood in what used to be our home and felt nothing. No, that's a lie. I felt light. I felt like I'd been carrying something heavy for so long I'd forgotten what it was, and now someone had finally taken it away. The apartment looked strange now, hollow. The breakfast table was gone. The couch was gone. Even the TV was gone. I'd bought that. What remained was hers. The decorative pillows she loved. The standing lamp that cost $400. That goddamn fruit bowl. I took out my phone and texted her. Kept my options open, too. Chose the option without you. Then I walked out, left the keys on the kitchen counter next to her phone charger, and closed the door on 3 years of being someone's backup plan. She called 17 times before I blocked her number. I was sitting in a coffee shop 3 blocks from her apartment when the calls started. I'd expected them, honestly. Expected the panic, the anger, the inevitable what the hell moment when Lauren walked through the door and found nothing but her own reflection in the empty spaces where my life used to be. The first call came at 5:47 p.m. I let it ring. The second, third, and fourth came in rapid succession. I watched my phone light up on the table, vibrating against the wood like something dying. By the 7th call, the barista was giving me looks. By the 10th, I ordered another coffee I didn't want just to justify taking up space. The voicemail started around call number 12. I listened to the first one. Just the first. "What the fuck, Daniel? Where is everything? Where are you?" This isn't funny. Call me back right now. Her voice had that edge it got when things didn't go according to her plan. High and tight, like a wire about to snap. I'd heard it before. When restaurants got our order wrong. When her credit card got declined. When the universe had the audacity to inconvenience her in any small way. But never directed at me. Not like this. I was always the one who fixed things. The one who smoothed everything over, who called the restaurant back, who paid with my card instead, who made sure Lauren's world stayed comfortable and uncomplicated. Not anymore. I deleted the voicemail and ordered a sandwich. The texts started coming around 6:15. Where are you? This is insane. You can't just leave. We need to talk about this like adults. I'm calling the police. I'm serious, Daniel. You're being so immature right now. And then, around 7:30, after the calls had stopped, and I'd blocked her number, and finished my sandwich, and watched the sun set through the coffee shop window, one final text came through from a number I didn't recognize. It's Lauren. Are you seriously going to throw away 3 years over a misunderstanding? I wasn't actually going to do anything. I was just looking. Looking isn't cheating. You're overreacting. Please come home so we can talk. Looking isn't cheating. I read that line 3 times. Looking isn't cheating, but keeping your options open is apparently relationship therapy. Shopping for my replacement at breakfast is just being honest. Swiping through men while wearing my shirt is evolved. But me leaving, that's immature. I typed out a response, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Finally, I just wrote, "Hope you find what you're looking for." Then I blocked that number too. I spent that night in a hotel, not a nice one. I was trying to be smart with money, and I'd just paid 3 months' rent penalty to break the lease. The room smelled like industrial cleaner and someone else's cigarettes, and the air conditioner made a grinding noise that sounded like grinding teeth. But it was mine. My space. My choice. I lay on the bed fully clothed and stared at the ceiling, waiting to feel something. Waiting for the regret to hit, or the sadness, or the fear. Nothing came. Just this strange, floating calm. Like I'd been holding my breath underwater for years and finally surfaced. My phone buzzed. A different number. I almost didn't check it, but something made me look. It was Marcus, the moving guy. Hey man, forgot to tell you. Your wife showed up right after we left. Saw her pulling into the lot. Just thought you should know. I sat up. Typed back. What happened? Nothing. We were already loaded up. She just stood there in the parking lot staring at the truck. Looked confused as hell. You good? I'm good. Thanks for the heads up. No problem. And hey, my brother went through something similar. Took him a while, but he's better now. Married to someone who actually gives a shit. It gets better, man. A moving guy giving me life advice. That's where I was. But somehow, it helped. I put my phone on silent, turned off the lights, and closed my eyes. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. The next morning, I woke up to 43 notifications. Not from Lauren. I'd blocked every number I could imagine her borrowing. These were from mutual friends. Her friends, mostly. People I'd spent years having dinner with, going to parties with, pretending to enjoy conversations with about things I didn't care about, because Lauren cared. The messages were all variations of the same theme. Dude, what happened? Lauren is freaking out. She said you abandoned her? That's not cool, man. At least talk to her. You guys seemed so happy. That last one was from Jessica, Lauren's best friend. The same Jessica who'd told me 6 months ago, drunk at a birthday party, that she admired how patient I was with Lauren. At the time, I'd thought it was a compliment. Now I realized it was a warning I'd ignored. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I got dressed, checked out of the hotel, and drove to my storage unit. I needed to see it. Needed to confirm that yesterday actually happened, that I'd actually done it. The unit was bigger than I'd thought it would be. 10 by 15, climate-controlled, filled with boxes and furniture covered in plastic. My entire life stacked and labeled. Books, kitchen clothes, winter clothes, summer important docs. I stood there in the fluorescent light, surrounded by everything I owned, and felt that floating calm again. This was mine, all of it, not ours, not hers. Mine. I could go anywhere now, do anything, be anyone. For 3 years, I'd been Daniel and Lauren, one hyphenated unit, one merged identity. I'd forgotten what it felt like to just be Daniel. I opened the box labeled Important Docs and pulled out my passport. I hadn't used it since our honeymoon in Mexico. Lauren had complained the entire time. The hotel wasn't nice enough, the food was too spicy, the beach was too crowded. I'd spent the whole trip trying to make her happy, taking photos of her for Instagram, finding restaurants she'd approve of, apologizing for things that weren't my fault. Looking at the passport now, at my face from 3 years ago, I barely recognized the person staring back. He looked hopeful. I wondered when I'd stopped looking like that. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Daniel? It was Lauren's mother, Patricia. Her voice was ice. I just spoke with Lauren. I cannot believe what you've done. Hello, Patricia? Don't hello Patricia me. Walking out on my daughter? Emptying the apartment like a thief? What kind of man? The kind who got tired of being treated like an option, I said quietly. Silence. She was exploring herself, Patricia said finally, her voice sharp. She's young. She's figuring things out. You don't just abandon someone for... She was shopping for my replacement at breakfast, I interrupted. While eating eggs I made. While wearing my shirt. She told me she was keeping her options open. So I kept mine. That's not... You're twisting. I chose the option without her. That's all. She wanted freedom. I gave it to her. You're being cruel. I almost laughed. Almost. Patricia, with all due respect, you gave us a fruit bowl for our wedding. A ceramic fruit bowl. Do you know what the card said? She didn't answer. It said, "May you always bear fruit together." I kept the card. It's in a box in storage right now, along with everything else I brought to a marriage your daughter was using as a placeholder. She loves you. She loves having someone who fixes things, who pays bills, who makes breakfast, who doesn't complicate her life. That's not love, that's convenience. Another silence. Longer this time. Where are you staying? Patricia asked, and her voice had changed. Smaller now, almost uncertain. Somewhere safe. Daniel, tell Lauren I hope she finds what she's looking for. I mean that. I really do. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I sat down on a box labeled books and put my head in my hands and waited for the tears to come. They didn't. Just that same strange calm. That same floating feeling, like I'd finally stopped drowning. The social media posts started on day 3. I wasn't on social media anymore. I'd deleted Instagram, Facebook, all of it the same day I moved out. Not out of anger, but out of necessity. I didn't need to see Lauren's version of our story. Didn't need the performative grief, the carefully curated victimhood. But people screenshot things. People forward things. People think they're helping when they send you evidence of your own assassination. My cousin Raj sent me the first one. Dude, you seeing this? The image loaded slowly, like my phone knew I didn't want to see it, and was giving me one last chance to look away. I should have looked away. Lauren's Instagram post was a masterpiece of manipulation. A photo of her sitting on the floor of her empty apartment, knees pulled to her chest, mascara artfully smudged. The caption read, "Sometimes the people you love most become strangers overnight. Sometimes you wake up and everything you built is just gone." If you've ever felt abandoned, if you've ever had someone give up on you without warning, you know this pain. Healing starts today. Heartbroken, betrayed, finding myself. Stronger alone. 1,100 likes. 247 comments. I scrolled through them, each one a small knife. You deserve so much better, babe, his loss. What a coward men are, trash. Stay strong, queen, literally crying for you. My favorite was from her friend Michelle. I never liked him anyway. You were too good for him. Michelle had gotten drunk at our wedding and told me I was literally perfect for Lauren. But sure, never liked me. I handed my phone back to Raj. We were sitting in his apartment. He'd offered his couch until I figured things out. His girlfriend Maya was making tea in the kitchen, pointedly not making eye contact, like my failed marriage might be contagious. "You gonna respond?" Raj asked. "No." "She's making you look like the bad guy." "I know." "You could tell people what actually happened. Set the record straight." I thought about that. Thought about posting my own photo, maybe a screenshot of her dating app profile, or that text where she said we were never exclusive. Thought about my own caption. She was shopping for my replacement at breakfast. I just saved her the trouble of comparing options. "No," I said again. "Why not?" "Because then I'm playing her game. She wants a reaction, wants me to engage, to fight, to prove I care. The second I respond, she wins." Raj leaned back, studying me. "When did you get so zen about this?" "I'm not zen, I'm just tired." Maya brought out the tea, finally making eye contact. She was a therapist, one of those people who can read your trauma like a menu. She sat down across from me, handed me a cup. "You know what she's doing, right?" Maya said softly. "Making me the villain. She's rewriting history, creating a narrative where she's the victim and you're the abandoner. It's a defense mechanism. If she can make you the bad guy, she doesn't have to examine her own behavior." "So what do I do?" "Nothing." Maya sipped her tea. "Let her have her story. You know the truth. The people who matter will figure it out eventually. And the people who don't figure it out were never your people anyway." That night, lying on Raj's couch, I made a list on my phone. Things Lauren said that should have been red flags. 1. You're so stable. Not like exciting stable. Just there. 2. Sometimes I wonder what life would be like if I'd traveled more before settling down. 3. My ex used to surprise me all the time. You're more predictable. 4. I married you because you're safe. Safe. She'd said it like a compliment. I'd taken it like one. Now I understood. I wasn't her choice. I was her safety net. The person she kept around in case her other options didn't work out. I deleted the list, started a new one. Things I want. And then I stared at the blank screen for 20 minutes. I didn't know what I wanted. For 3 years, I'd wanted whatever Lauren wanted. Wanted to make her happy, keep her comfortable, be enough. What did I want? The cursor blinked, waiting. Finally, I typed, to stop feeling like someone's backup plan. It was a start. Day 5, my brother called. Mom wants to know if you're okay, he said. I'm fine. She's worried you had a breakdown. Aunt Carol told her you abandoned your wife and joined a cult. I did not join a cult. That's what I said. But you got to admit, the moving out in one day thing is pretty dramatic. She was on dating apps, Mike. Silence. While married to you? While sitting across from me at breakfast? Jesus. Yeah. Mike exhaled slowly. He'd never liked Lauren, said she had main character syndrome, that everything had to revolve around her. I'd defended her for years, told him he didn't know her like I did. Turned out he knew her better than I did. You need money? Mike asked. I'm good. You need a place? I've got a guest room. Raj is letting me stay on his couch. The offer stands, any time. Thanks, man. Another pause. For what it's worth, Mike said, I'm proud of you. Takes guts to walk away from something that's killing you slowly. Most people just stay and rot. After we hung up, I sat with those words. Killing you slowly. Was that what it had been? I'd thought I was just unhappy, just going through a rough patch. Just needed to try harder, be better, love more. I hadn't realized I was dying. Hadn't realized that the tightness in my chest every morning wasn't anxiety. It was my body trying to tell me something my brain refused to hear. Get out. Get out. Get out. I'd finally listened. Day 6, I got an email from our landlord. Mr. Chen, I received your notice of lease termination and payment of the penalty fee. However, I also received a call from Ms. Walker claiming she did not agree to break the lease and that you acted without her consent. Since both names are on the lease, I cannot proceed with termination without both parties' agreement. Please resolve this matter between yourselves and contact me with a unified decision. Regards, Tom Harrison, Property Manager. It 3 times. She was blocking me from leaving, legally tying me to an apartment I didn't live in, to a life I'd walked away from. I called the property office, got Tom's voicemail, left a message. Tom, it's Daniel Chen. I'm the one who paid the penalty fee, 3 months' rent, from my personal account. I'm the one who gave notice. My ex-wife doesn't pay rent. She doesn't contribute to utilities. She hasn't contributed financially to this lease in over a year. Check your records. Every payment comes from my account. If she wants to stay in the apartment, she's welcome to sign a new lease in her name only and start actually paying for it. Otherwise, I've fulfilled my legal obligation, and I expect the lease termination to proceed as planned. I hung up. My hands were shaking again. Not from fear, from rage. She'd taken my love, my time, my money, my stability. And now she wanted to take my freedom too? No. I'd been patient for 3 years. I'd been understanding. I'd been safe. I was done being safe. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about that email, about Lauren trying to trap me in a lease for an apartment I'd never see again. Around 2 a.m., I gave up on sleep and opened my laptop. Started writing. Not for her. Not to defend myself on social media. Just writing. What it feels like to realize you've been someone's second choice. What it feels like to watch the person you love shop for your replacement. What it feels like to finally choose yourself. I wrote for 3 hours straight. Didn't edit. Didn't stop, just bled onto the page. When I finished, it was 5 a.m. The sun was starting to rise. I read what I'd written. It was angry. It was raw. It was true. I saved it in a folder labeled for later. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. But it felt good to name the pain. It felt good to make it real. The storage unit became my sanctuary. I'd go there in the mornings before job searching, sit on a box labeled winter clothes, and just exist. No one could find me there. No phone calls, no texts from borrowed numbers, no Instagram posts to screenshot and forward. Just me and my boxes and the fluorescent lights humming overhead. On day 8, I started unpacking. Not to move into a new place. I didn't have one yet. Just to inventory. To remind myself what I'd saved, what I'd left behind. The box labeled Important Docs was bigger than I remembered. Tax returns, birth certificate, passport, marriage certificate. I paused on that one, holding the embossed paper in my hands, reading our names side by side. Daniel Marcus Chen and Lauren Patricia Walker. She'd hyphenated her last name on social media but never legally changed it. Said she wanted to keep her identity. I'd thought it was feminist, progressive. Now I wondered if she'd just been keeping her options open from the start. Beneath the marriage certificate was a folder I'd forgotten about. Bank statements from the past 3 years. I'd kept them for tax purposes, filed them away neatly, because that's what responsible people do. I opened the first one. January 2023. Rent, $2,200 from my account. Utilities, $180 from my account. Groceries, $650 from my account. Lauren's contribution, $0 I flipped to February, March, April. The pattern was consistent. I paid for everything. At some point in our first year of marriage, Lauren had stopped working, said she needed to find herself, to explore her passions, to figure out what she really wanted to do with her life. I'd supported it, literally. Paid all the bills while she took yoga classes and started online businesses that never made money, and found herself through expensive workshops on manifestation and self-love. I'm investing in myself, she'd said. One day it'll pay off, and you'll be glad you believed in me. I'd believed her. 3 years later, her investment in herself had paid off with a dating app profile and an empty apartment. I kept reading. June 2024. My account shows a $200 charge to a hotel in Manhattan. We'd never gone to Manhattan together. August 2024. $800 at a restaurant I'd never heard of. She'd told me she was having dinner with her sister that night. Her sister lived in Boston. September 2024, $450 for concert tickets. She'd gone with friends. I wasn't invited. The evidence was all there. I just hadn't been looking. Or maybe I'd been looking and choosing not to see. I pulled out my phone and took photos of every statement, every charge, Every dollar I'd spent keeping us afloat while she kept her options open. I didn't know what I'd do with the evidence, but Maya's words echoed. The people who matter will figure it out eventually. Maybe they just needed help figuring it out. That afternoon, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, it's Aaron. From the gym? Lauren's friend. Listen, man, I know you guys are going through something, but she's really struggling. Whatever happened, maybe you could just talk to her? She's not eating, not sleeping. She really loves you. Aaron from the gym. The guy Lauren had mentioned a few times. The guy who really understands fitness in a spiritual way. The guy whose Instagram she showed me once, laughing about his inspirational quotes. I looked him up. His most recent Instagram story was a photo of a smoothie bowl with the caption, "Fuel your body, free your mind." The story before that, a gym selfie. The story before that, a screenshot of a dating app conversation. His own profile visible in the corner, active on the same app Lauren had been using. I zoomed in on the conversation. Couldn't read most of it, but I could read the contact name at the top. L. I sat very still, breathed in, out. Then I replied to Aaron, "Appreciate the concern, but I think she'll be fine. She's got options." I attached a screenshot of his Instagram story, the dating app one, and hit send. He didn't respond. Day 9, the landlord called me directly. "Mr. Chen, I reviewed the payment records like you asked. You're right. Every rent payment for the past 14 months has come from your account. Ms. Walker hasn't contributed. So we're good? Lease is terminated? Well, legally it's complicated, since both names are on the lease. Tom." I'd never interrupted him before, never raised my voice. Always been polite, accommodating, easy. I paid a 3-month penalty. That's $6,600. I've fulfilled my obligation. If Ms. Walker wants to contest this, she's welcome to hire a lawyer and sue me, but I think we both know she won't. Silence. "You're right," Tom said finally. "Lease termination will proceed as planned. End of the month." "Thank you. For what it's worth, Mr. Chen, you were a good tenant, always paid on time, never caused problems. I hope your next place treats you better." I didn't tell him that the place wasn't the problem. That night, Raj made dinner. His specialty, chicken tikka masala. Maya set the table. We ate like normal people doing normal things. And for a moment, I almost forgot I was a man living on his friend's couch because his wife had been shopping for upgrades. "You seem better," Maya observed, passing me naan. "I am better. What changed?" I thought about that. About the bank statements. About Aaron from the gym. About the landlord finally seeing what I'd been too blind to see. "I stopped defending her," I said. In my head, I stopped making excuses, stopped trying to understand her perspective, stopped giving her the benefit of the doubt. And once I stopped defending her, I could finally see what was actually there. "Which was?" Raj asked. "Someone who never saw me as a partner, just as infrastructure." Maya nodded slowly. Infrastructure? The foundation she built her life on. The stability that let her explore herself without risk. I wasn't her husband. I was her safety net. We ate in silence for a moment. "You know what's crazy?" I said. "I thought I was being a good husband. Supportive, patient, understanding. All those things you're supposed to be. You were being a good husband." Maya said gently. To the wrong person. Later, alone on the couch, I opened my laptop and pulled up that document I'd written at 2 a.m. What it feels like to finally choose yourself. I read it again. It was still raw, still angry, still true, but it was missing something. I started writing again. Here's what they don't tell you about leaving. The hardest part isn't walking away. It's staying away. It's resisting the urge to go back, to fix it, to try one more time. Because you've been trying for so long that trying feels like love, but it's not. Love doesn't ask you to shrink, to disappear, to become infrastructure. Love doesn't shop for replacements while you're making breakfast. Love doesn't keep you as a backup plan. And once you realize you've been someone's option, not their choice, staying becomes the cruelest thing you can do. To yourself, I saved it. Still didn't know what I'd do with it. But it was growing into something. Something that felt like truth. Day 10, I got a call from Patricia again. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Daniel. Her voice was different, quieter. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay. Did Lauren... was she seeing someone else? I closed my eyes. Why are you asking? I found some things. Going through her room, she's staying with me now, and I found receipts, messages. I just need to know if you knew. I didn't know, I said, but I suspected. Why didn't you say anything? Would you have believed me? Silence. Patricia, I said gently, when you called me the other day, you said I was being cruel, that I abandoned her. You didn't ask what happened. You just assumed I was the problem. I know. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. She's your daughter. You're supposed to take her side. But I'm supposed to see the truth too. A pause. You were good to her, Daniel. Better than she deserved. I tried. I know you did. We sat with that for a moment. For what it's worth, Patricia said, that fruit bowl was expensive. If you want it, you can have it back. I surprised myself by laughing. Keep it. Maybe she'll meet someone who actually wants to bear fruit with her. Patricia laughed too, soft and sad. After we hung up, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. My new therapist's name was Dr. Sarah Kim, and she didn't look like a therapist. She looked like someone's cool aunt. Early 50s, silver-streaked hair and a messy bun, wearing jeans and a cardigan with a coffee stain on the sleeve. Her office smelled like lavender and old books. So, she said, settling into her chair with a mug that said, I'm silently correcting your grammar. Tell me why you're here. I'd been rehearsing this. Had a whole speech prepared about marriage and betrayal and choosing yourself. What came out instead was, I don't know if I'm allowed to be angry. Dr. Kim tilted her head. Allowed? Everyone thinks I'm the bad guy. My wife, ex-wife, she's posting on social media about how I abandoned her. Her friends are calling me a coward. And I keep thinking, maybe they're right? Maybe I should have tried harder, communicated better, given her a chance to explain. Did you want to give her a chance to explain? No. Why not? I thought about that morning, about Lauren swiping through faces while eating my cooking, wearing my shirt, sitting at our table. Because I didn't want to hear her make it make sense, I said. I didn't want to listen to her explain why keeping her options open was actually healthy, why looking for someone else was just self-exploration, why I was being controlling by expecting monogamy in a marriage. Dr. Kim made a note. You think that's what she would have said? I know it is, because she said it. At breakfast, before I left. And you didn't believe her? I believed she believed it, but I also believed it was bullshit. Dr. Kim smiled. Good. Good? You trusted yourself more than her narrative. That's harder than it sounds. We spent the next 40 minutes unpacking everything. The bank statements, the dating apps, the friends who'd taken her side without asking questions. Here's what I'm hearing, Dr. Kim said, setting down her mug. You spent 3 years being a supporting character in someone else's story, and when you finally wrote yourself out, she acted like you'd destroyed the whole narrative. That's... yes, exactly that. And now you're wondering if you had the right to do that. I nodded. Daniel. She leaned forward. Did Lauren ask your permission before downloading dating apps? No. Did she ask your permission before emotionally checking out of your marriage? No. Did she ask your permission before spending money you earned on dates with other people? I stared at her. She did that? You tell me. Those hotel charges, those restaurant bills, the concert tickets, were those for you? No. Then she was spending your money on her options, without asking, without telling you so. Dr. Kim sat back. So why do you need her permission to leave? The question sat in the air between us. I don't, I said quietly. You don't, she agreed. And you didn't need to explain yourself, justify yourself, or give her a chance to talk you out of it. You saw something that didn't work for you, and you removed yourself from it. That's not cruelty. That's self-preservation. I left therapy feeling lighter, not happy, not yet, but clearer, like someone had finally given me permission to stop apologizing for saving myself. On the drive back to Raj's place, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but I was feeling brave. Hello? Is this Daniel Chen? A woman's voice. Professional. Crisp. Yes? My name is Jennifer Martinez. I'm a lawyer representing Lauren Walker in the matter of your marital separation. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. She hired a lawyer? Ms. Walker is seeking spousal support during the separation period, as well as compensation for emotional distress caused by your sudden abandonment. I pulled over. Needed to focus. Emotional distress, I repeated. Yes. Ms. Walker has suffered significant psychological harm as a result of your actions. She's currently unable to work due to anxiety and depression, and she hasn't worked in over a year. Excuse me? Lauren hasn't had a job since March of 2024. Not because of me leaving, because she chose not to work. Said she was finding herself. Silence. Mr. Chen, do you have legal representation? Not yet. I'd recommend getting some. We'll be filing paperwork next week. She hung up. I sat in my car on the side of the road, hands shaking again. Not from fear this time, from rage. She was going to sue me for emotional distress, for leaving a marriage where she was actively shopping for my replacement. The audacity was almost impressive. I drove straight to a lawyer's office. Found one on Google. Deborah Chen, no relation, family law specialist, 15 years experience. Her receptionist squeezed me in for a consultation. Deborah was in her 40s, sharp-eyed, wearing a suit that meant business. I told her everything. Showed her the bank statements, the dating app screenshots, the Instagram stories from Aaron. Showed her Lauren's social media posts, Patricia's texts, the lawyer's phone call. Deborah listened without interrupting, making notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she looked up. "How much do you want to destroy her?" she asked. "What?" "Because I can. With this evidence, I can obliterate any claim she makes. Spousal support? Denied. Emotional distress? Laughable. I can make sure she doesn't get a penny from you. But it'll cost money, time, and whatever peace of mind you've managed to build. So I need to know, how far do you want to take this?" I thought about that. Thought about Lauren crying on social media. Thought about her living with Patricia, probably still swiping through options. Thought about Aaron from the gym and the hotel in Manhattan, and every dollar I'd spent building a life she was ready to leave. "I just want out," I said. "I want the divorce finalized. I want to not owe her anything. And I want her to know, on record, legally, that she doesn't get to rewrite this story." Deborah nodded. "I can do that." That night, I called my brother. "I need to tell you something," I said. "Shoot." "I'm not fine." Mike was quiet. "I'm pretending I'm fine," I continued. "I'm telling everyone I'm fine. But I'm not. I'm angry. I'm humiliated. I'm afraid I'll never trust anyone again. And I'm so fucking tired of being the mature one, the understanding one, the one who takes the high road." "So don't," Mike said. "What?" "Don't take the high road. Be angry. Be humiliated. Feel your feelings and stop performing okayness for everyone else." "But, Daniel, you just left a marriage where you had to be perfect all the time. Don't bring that shit into your new life. Be a mess. Be angry. Be human." I sat with that. "I hired a lawyer," I said. "Good. Lauren's suing me for emotional distress. Of course she is. People like her always play victim when they lose control. I have evidence. Bank statements. Proof she was cheating or planning to. Proof I paid for everything. You gonna use it? I don't know. Part of me wants to just let it go. Move on. Be the bigger person. And the other part? Wants to make sure everyone knows the truth." Mike was quiet for a moment. "Here's my advice," he said finally. "Do whatever lets you sleep at night. If that's walking away quietly, do that. If that's burning everything down, do that. But don't decide based on what other people will think. Decide based on what you need." "What if I don't know what I need?" "Then figure it out. You've got time now." That night, I opened my laptop again, looked at that document. What it feels like to finally choose yourself. It was almost done. Almost true. I added one more paragraph. "They'll call you cruel for leaving, immature for not fighting, heartless for not giving second chances. Let them. Because the people calling you cruel are the same ones who watched you disappear and said nothing. And the person calling you heartless is the one who broke yours first. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't owe anyone your pain. You just owe yourself the truth." I saved it. This time I knew what I'd do with it. The deposition was scheduled for a Wednesday morning in a conference room that smelled like stale coffee and desperation. I arrived early with Deborah, who looked even sharper than usual in a navy suit and heels that clicked like a countdown timer. "Remember," she said as we rode the elevator up, "don't volunteer information. Answer the questions asked, nothing more. And if you feel yourself getting emotional, pause, drink water, breathe." "I'm not going to get emotional." She gave me a look that said everyone says that. Lauren arrived 10 minutes late with her lawyer, Jennifer Martinez, and a performance of fragility that would have won awards. She was wearing a cream-colored sweater that made her look soft, vulnerable. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup, or makeup that looked like no makeup. She didn't look at me as she sat down. The court reporter settled in. Jennifer Martinez opened her folder. "Mr. Chen," she began, "can you describe the events of the day you left your wife?" I'd practiced this with Deborah. "I woke up, made breakfast, and during breakfast, my wife informed me she was keeping her options open while actively using dating applications. I took the day off work, moved my belongings to storage, broke our lease, and left." Without discussing it with her? We'd just discussed it. At breakfast. "She says you gave no warning, no indication you were unhappy." I looked at Deborah. She nodded slightly. I'd expressed concern about our marriage multiple times over the previous 6 months. My wife dismissed those concerns as me being insecure or controlling. "Can you provide specific examples?" In May, I asked why she'd been coming home late. She said I was being paranoid. In June, I suggested couples therapy. She said therapy was for weak people. In July, I asked about charges on our joint credit card for restaurants and hotels I hadn't been to. She said I was being financially controlling. Jennifer's pen paused. "Joint credit card?" "Yes." "So you had access to all financial records?" "I paid for them. So yes." Deborah slid a folder across the table. "We've submitted 3 years of bank statements showing Mr. Chen paid 100% of marital expenses, including rent, utilities, groceries, and Mrs. Walker's personal expenses." Jennifer opened the folder. I watched her face change as she read. Lauren was still staring at the table. "Mrs. Walker," Jennifer said carefully, "you told me you contributed equally to household finances." "I contributed other ways," Lauren said quietly. "Emotionally. I supported him emotionally." "While looking for other options?" I asked. "Mr. Chen," Jennifer warned, but I wasn't done. "While spending my money on dates with other people? While posting on Instagram about how abandoned you felt in a marriage you were actively trying to leave? That kind of emotional support?" "Daniel," Lauren's voice broke. She looked up and her eyes were wet. "I wasn't trying to leave, I was just confused. I needed space to figure things out." "Space," I repeated. "Is that what we're calling it?" Deborah touched my arm gently. "Careful." I took a breath. "You had 3 years to figure things out," I said, calmer now. 3 years while I paid your bills and made your breakfast and gave you space, and you used that space to shop for someone else. So when you found me gone, when you came home to an empty apartment, that wasn't abandonment. That was consequence." Silence. The court reporter's fingers paused on her keyboard. Jennifer Martinez closed her folder. "I think," she said slowly, "we need to revisit our strategy." The deposition ended early. Deborah and I walked to her car in silence. Once inside, she turned to me. "That was either brilliant or stupid, and I haven't decided which." "I'm sorry. I know you said—" "No," she smiled. You were honest, controlled, but honest, and you gave her lawyer enough to realize they don't have a case. So what happens now? Now we wait for them to either drop the suit or make a settlement offer that's actually reasonable. And if they don't, then we go to court, and I bring every receipt, literal and metaphorical, and we bury her. That night, Raj made celebratory tacos. To consequences, he said, raising his beer. To consequences, I echoed. Maya was quieter than usual, watching me with that therapist look. What? I asked. How do you feel? About the deposition? About seeing her? I thought about that. About Lauren in her cream sweater, performing vulnerability. About the way she'd looked at me when I called her out. I felt nothing, I said. And that scared me more than anything. Why? Because I used to love her. Used to see her walk into a room and feel my chest get tight. Used to memorize the way she laughed. And today, looking at her, I felt like I was looking at a stranger. That's not nothing, Maya said gently. That's grief. You're mourning who you thought she was. Who I wanted her to be. Same thing. We ate in silence for a moment. Can I ask you something? I said. Of course. When does it stop hurting? Maya set down her taco, wiped her hands. It doesn't, she said. Not completely, but it changes. Right now, it's sharp, like a fresh cut. Eventually, it'll be more like a scar, something you notice sometimes, but it doesn't bleed anymore. How long? Everyone's different, but you're doing the work, therapy, boundaries, letting yourself feel it instead of running. You'll get there. 3 days later, Jennifer Martinez called Deborah. They were dropping the suit. Just like that? I asked when Deborah told me. Just like that. I think seeing those bank statements made her realize Lauren's story didn't hold water. No judge would award spousal support to someone who hasn't worked in over a year by choice, while spending her husband's money on dating prospects. So it's over? The lawsuit is. The divorce still needs to be finalized. But that should be straightforward. No kids, no shared assets besides the lease you already broke. You're looking at maybe 3 more months. 3 months. 90 days until I was legally free of a marriage that had ended emotionally years ago. Thank you, I said, for everything. You made my job easy. You had evidence, you stayed calm, and you didn't let her rewrite history. Deborah paused. Can I give you some unsolicited advice? Please. Whatever you do next relationship, next job, next life, don't make yourself small to fit someone else's story. You're not infrastructure. You're not a supporting character. You're the protagonist. That night, I finally published it. Not on social media, I still didn't have accounts. But I'd been writing for a platform called Medium under a pseudonym. Posted essays about life and love and self-deception. I'd never shared anything this personal before. But Dr. Kim had said something in our last session. Your story might help someone else recognize theirs. So I posted it. What it feels like to finally choose yourself. A true story about love, loss, and learning when to walk away. I included everything. The dating apps, the bank statements, the deposition, the process of dismantling a life and building a new one from salvaged pieces. I didn't use Lauren's name, didn't use anyone's name, just told the truth as I'd lived it. Then I closed my laptop and tried not to think about it. By morning, it had 500 views. By afternoon, 5,000. By evening, it was trending on the platform. The comments were overwhelming. I needed to read this today. This was my marriage. Word for word. Thank you for giving me permission to leave. My sister is going through this right now. Sending her this. Men go through this too, and nobody talks about it. Thank you. But one comment stopped me cold. It was from an account called TruthSeeker23. I know who this is about. I was one of the options she was keeping open. We went on 3 dates before I realized she was married. When I confronted her, she said you were just a roommate and that the marriage was basically over. I'm sorry, man. You deserved better. I stared at that comment for a long time. Just a roommate. That's what I'd been reduced to. That's how she'd explained me to the men she was dating with my money. I could have been angry, should have been angry, but instead, I just felt vindicated. Because now I knew I hadn't misunderstood, hadn't overreacted, hadn't been cruel or immature or any of the things her friends had called me. I'd just seen the truth before she was ready to admit it, and I'd chosen myself anyway. The essay went viral in a way I never anticipated. By day 3, it had over 100,000 views. By day 7, someone had shared it on Reddit, and suddenly I was the subject of discussion threads and think pieces and hot takes from people who'd never met me. NTA, his wife was literally shopping for replacements. This is why I don't trust marriage anymore. King behavior. Respect. But did he really have to air their dirty laundry publicly? That last one bothered me more than it should have. I hadn't used her name, hadn't posted photos, hadn't revealed identifying details. But the essay was true. And truth has a way of cutting through anonymity. People who knew us would know, and they did. The first message came from Jessica, Lauren's best friend. The same Jessica who'd commented I never liked him anyway on Lauren's Instagram. I read your essay. I need to talk to you. I didn't respond. She called. I didn't answer. Then she showed up at Raj's apartment. Maya answered the door, gave me a questioning look. I nodded. Jessica came in looking smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just diminished somehow, like the confidence she usually wore had been dry cleaned away. I owe you an apology, she said before even sitting down. I waited. I believed her. When she said you abandoned her, I believed her. I called you a coward. I told everyone you were controlling and that she was better off. Jessica's voice cracked. But then I read what you wrote and I saw the dates, the bank statements, and I realized I'd been watching it happen. Watching what happen? Her pulling away from you, coming to brunches and talking about these amazing guys she'd met, showing me her dating profile and asking which photos made her look single. I convinced myself, you knew that you had some kind of open arrangement. We didn't. I know that now. She wiped her eyes. I'm sorry. I should have asked. Should have checked. Should have been a better friend to you too, not just her. We sat in silence. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I'm trying to be better. And because Lauren she's not doing well. My chest tightened. Is she okay? Jessica hesitated. Define okay. Jessica. She's staying with her mom still. Hasn't left the house in a week. She read your essay. Everyone did. And now she knows that everyone knows. The truth of what happened. How it really was. I should have felt satisfied, vindicated, proven right. Instead, I just felt tired. I didn't write it to hurt her, I said quietly. I know. But it did. After Jessica left, I sat on the couch, staring at nothing. Raj came out of his room, sat beside me. You good? I don't know. Having regrets? Not about leaving, never about leaving, but about making it public, maybe. I thought I was helping people, telling the truth. But maybe I was just being vindictive. Were you lying in the essay? No. Did you use her name? No. Then you told your story. That's not vindictive. That's just honest. But she's hurting. She hurt first, Raj said. And she hurt you deliberately, publicly, for weeks. You're allowed to tell your side. Am I, though? Or am I just as bad as her now? Raj was quiet for a moment. Here's the difference, he said finally. She lied to make herself the victim. You told the truth to free yourself from being the villain. Those aren't the same thing. That night, I got an email from Lauren. The subject line was just, "Please read this." I should have deleted it, should have blocked her email like I'd blocked everything else. But I opened it. Daniel, I don't know if you'll read this, but I need to say it anyway. You're right. About everything. I was keeping my options open. I was shopping for something better. I was using you as a safety net while I figured out what I really wanted. And the worst part is, I didn't even realize how terrible that was until I read your essay. Until I saw our relationship through your eyes and understood what I'd done. I was so focused on what I wasn't feeling, the butterflies, the excitement, the spark, that I completely missed what I was getting. Stability, partnership, love. Real, actual love. The kind that makes breakfast and pays bills and doesn't ask for anything in return except to be seen. And I didn't see you. I saw infrastructure, background, the boring part of my story while I waited for the exciting part to start. I'm not writing this to ask for another chance. I know I don't deserve one. I'm writing because you deserve to know that you were right to leave. That you weren't overreacting or being dramatic or any of the things I told myself to make it your fault. It was my fault. All of it. I'm sorry I made you feel like an option. I'm sorry I spent your money on other people. I'm sorry I rewrote our story to make myself the victim when I was the one who broke us. I hope you find someone who sees you the way you deserved to be seen. I hope you find someone who chooses you first. Lauren, I read it 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and didn't respond. Not because I was angry, because there was nothing left to say. She'd finally told the truth, finally admitted what I'd known all along, and it didn't change anything. The marriage was still over. The hurt was still there. The trust was still broken. Her apology didn't erase what she'd done. It just confirmed that leaving was right. Dr. Kim asked about the email in our next session. How did it make you feel? She asked. Nothing. And then guilty for feeling nothing. And then angry that I felt guilty. That's a lot of feelings for nothing, she said with a small smile. I wanted her to apologize for so long. Wanted her to admit she was wrong, that I wasn't crazy or controlling or whatever she'd been telling people. And now she has. And I don't feel better. Because apologies don't undo harm. They just acknowledge it. So what do I do with it? Whatever you need to. You can forgive her. You cannot forgive her. You can hold on to it or let it go. There's no right answer. I think I want to let it go, I said. Not for her, for me. I don't want to carry this anymore. Dr. Kim nodded. That's fair and mature. But I also don't want to pretend it didn't happen. I don't want to minimize what she did just because she finally admitted it. Then don't. You can acknowledge her apology without accepting responsibility for her actions. You can let go of the anger without forgetting the lesson. I sat with that. What's the lesson? I asked. You tell me. I thought about the past 2 months. The storage unit, the deposition, the essay, the strangers in the comments sharing their own stories of being someone's backup plan. That love isn't supposed to make you feel small, I said. That choosing yourself isn't cruel. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do is walk away. And that I'm worth more than being someone's option. Dr. Kim smiled. Remember that. That weekend, I started looking for apartments. Real ones. Not temporary couches or hotel rooms or storage units. A place to call home. I found one on the east side. A small one-bedroom with hardwood floors and a window that faced a park. It was more than I'd planned to spend, but it felt right. I signed the lease on a Wednesday. Moved in on a Saturday with help from Raj, Mike, and even Jessica, who'd apparently decided redemption required manual labor. Where do you want this? She asked, holding a box labeled kitchen. Kitchen, I said. She laughed. Smart ass. By evening, the apartment looked almost livable. Boxes everywhere, furniture still wrapped in plastic. But mine. All mine. Everyone left around 8. Raj and Maya were the last to go. You going to be okay? Maya asked at the door. Yeah, I said. And I meant it. After they left, I stood in my empty living room and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not happiness, not yet, but the quiet certainty that I'd made the right choice, that I'd chosen myself, and that was enough. The apartment became my project. Not in a frantic, distract myself from feelings way, more like intentional building. Creating a space that felt like me, not like a compromise between what I wanted and what someone else could tolerate. I painted the bedroom a deep blue that Lauren would have hated. Too dark, she would have said. It'll make the room feel small. But I loved it. Felt like being underwater in the best way. Calm. Contained. I bought a bookshelf and unpacked all the books I'd kept in storage because Lauren said they made the place look cluttered. Philosophy texts, beat poetry, dog-eared paperbacks I'd read in college. I hung art I actually liked. Not the mass-produced, live, laugh, love stuff Lauren had insisted on, but weird pieces from local artists I'd found at flea markets. A painting of a city in rain. A photograph of an empty highway at dawn. Every choice felt like reclaiming something. 3 weeks into living alone, I invited my brother over for dinner. You cooked? Mike asked, looking at the pasta I'd made. I've always cooked. I just haven't cooked for myself in a while. We ate on my new table. A small round thing I'd found at an estate sale. Nothing fancy. But mine. Place looks good, Mike said. Very you. What's very me? I don't know, quiet, thoughtful. Like you actually live here instead of just existing in someone else's space. I thought about that. About the apartment I'd shared with Lauren, where everything was neutral and beige and carefully designed to not offend anyone. Where I'd kept my personality packed away like off-season clothes. I forgot what it felt like, I said. to have a space that's actually mine. Well, now you remember. The essay continued to resonate. I'd stopped checking the view count, but people kept commenting, kept sharing their own stories. Some were eerily similar to mine. The slow realization that they were someone's backup plan, the guilt of leaving, the aftermath of choosing themselves. Others were different, but somehow the same. Different genders, different circumstances, same core wound, the pain of loving someone who saw you as optional. A woman named Sarah reached out via email, said she'd been in a relationship for 7 years with a man who kept saying he wasn't ready for marriage, wasn't ready for kids, wasn't ready to move in together. Then she found out he'd proposed to someone else 3 months after they broke up. Your essay helped me understand it wasn't about being ready, she wrote. It was about being ready with me. And I wasn't the person he wanted to be ready for. I wrote back, "That's his loss." She replied, "Thank you. I'm starting to believe that." One night, I was reorganizing my bookshelf when I found it. The journal I'd kept during my first year with Lauren. I'd forgotten about it. Forgotten that version of myself. The one who was optimistic enough to document falling in love, to record the early days when everything felt possible. I opened it carefully, like it might crumble. June 15th, 2020. Met someone today. Lauren. She laughed at my jokes, the bad ones, and didn't check her phone once during dinner. She asked about my family, my work, my dreams, real questions. I think I could fall for someone like her. June 30th, 2020. Third date. We walked through the botanical gardens for 3 hours. She knows the names of flowers I've never heard of. Teaches kids part-time. Says she wants to do something meaningful with her life. I admire that. August 10th, 2020. She told me she loves me. We were making breakfast. She was trying to teach me how to make proper French toast. She just said it, casual, like commenting on the weather. I love you, you know. And I said it back. Because I do. I flipped through more pages, watched myself fall in love in real time, watched the entries get shorter, less frequent, more worried. March 3rd, 2021. Lauren says I work too much. Maybe she's right. But someone has to pay rent. She quit her teaching job to find her passion. I support that. I want her to be happy. July 19th, 2021. She came home at 2 a.m. again. Says she was with friends. I believe her. Why wouldn't I believe her? November 2nd, 2021. Asked if she wanted to go to my company holiday party. She said it sounded boring. I went alone. Everyone asked where she was. I made excuses. February 14th, 2022. Planned a whole Valentine's Day thing. Dinner reservation, flowers, the works. She forgot. Had plans with friends. I ate alone. Still paid for the reservation. I closed the journal. That version of me, the one who made excuses, who accepted crumbs, who convinced himself that love meant shrinking. He deserved better too. And I was finally giving it to him. Dr. Kim asked about the journal in our next session. How did it feel reading it? Sad. Angry. Embarrassed. Embarrassed. That I let it happen for so long. That I saw the signs and ignored them. You weren't ignoring them. You were hoping they meant something different. Same thing. It's not. Dr. Kim leaned forward. Hoping someone will love you the way you love them isn't weakness. It's human. The weakness would be going back now that you know better. I won't go back. I know. But you're still punishing that earlier version of yourself for not knowing what you know now. That's not fair to him. I thought about that. About the Daniel who wrote those journal entries, who believed Lauren when she said she just needed space, who paid for Valentine's dinner alone and told himself it was fine. He was doing his best. He just didn't know yet that his best deserved better. What would you say to him? Dr. Kim asked. To that version of yourself? I closed my eyes. I'd say, it's not your fault. You tried. You loved her the best way you knew how. And when you finally understood that it wasn't enough, not because you failed, but because she wasn't capable of receiving it, you left. And that took more courage than staying ever did. When I opened my eyes, Dr. Kim was smiling. That's growth, she said. That weekend, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went on a date, not because I was ready for a relationship, not because I was trying to prove anything or move on or replace what I'd lost, just because a woman at the coffee shop where I'd been working had asked, and I'd said yes without overthinking it. Her name was Rachel. She was a graphic designer, had a laugh that sounded like music, and didn't check her phone once during dinner. We talked about work, about art, about the essays I'd been writing. She'd read my viral piece. That took guts, she said, telling the truth like that. Or stupidity. I'm still not sure which. Can't it be both? I laughed. Fair. Can I ask you something? Rachel said, setting down her fork. Sure. Are you over her? Your ex-wife? I thought about that. About Lauren's apology email. About the journal entries. About the apartment I'd built from scratch. I don't know if over is the right word, I said. I'm not angry anymore. Don't think about her every day. Don't check her social media or wonder what she's doing. But I'm still processing, I guess. Still figuring out who I am without her. Rachel nodded. That's honest. Is that a problem? No, actually, it's refreshing. Most guys would just lie and say they're completely fine. We talked for 2 more hours. About nothing important. About everything important. At the end of the night, walking to our cars, she turned to me. I had fun, she said. Me too. But I don't think you're ready. And that's okay. I just wanted you to know, when you are ready, you're going to make someone really happy. She kissed my cheek and drove away. I stood in the parking lot alone, smiling. Not because I'd met someone, because I'd been honest. Had shown up as myself, messy, still healing, still figuring things out, and she'd seen me anyway. Maybe that was enough for now. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday in October. No ceremony, no dramatic courthouse scene, just Deborah calling me at work to say, "It's done, you're officially unmarried." I said thank you, hung up, and went back to my spreadsheet. That night, I went home to my apartment and felt nothing. No relief, no celebration, no sense of closure, just the quiet acknowledgement that a chapter I'd already stopped reading had officially ended. I texted my brother. Divorce is final. He called immediately. How you feeling? Fine. That's it? Just fine? Yeah. It's been over for months. This was just paperwork. Mike was quiet for a moment. You want to come over? Have a drink? Burn something ceremonially? I laughed. I'm good. Really. But thanks. After we hung up, I sat on my couch and looked around my apartment. The blue bedroom I'd painted. The bookshelf full of my books. The art I'd chosen. The space I'd built. This was my life now, and it was enough. The essay had mostly died down by November, still got occasional comments from people discovering it late, but the viral moment had passed. I'd written a few more pieces about healing, about rebuilding, about learning to trust yourself again, but nothing that caught fire the same way. I was okay with that. The point had never been to go viral. The point had been to tell the truth. But then, on a random Thursday, I got an email from a literary agent named Monica Torres. Subject: Representation Inquiry. Mr. Chen, I've been following your essays on Medium with great interest. Your voice, honest, vulnerable yet measured, resonates with a lot of people clearly looking for permission to choose themselves. Have you ever considered expanding your story into a book? I think there's a market for this kind of narrative. Not a self-help book, but a memoir about emotional recovery and radical self-preservation. If you're interested, I'd love to discuss representation. Best. Monica Torres. Torres Literary Agency. I read it 3 times. A book. About the worst thing that had ever happened to me. About breakfast and dating apps and empty apartments. About choosing yourself when everyone tells you you're being selfish. I closed my laptop without responding. Dr. Kim asked about the email in our next session. Are you going to take the meeting? She asked. I don't know. What's holding you back? I guess I'm not sure I want to relive it all. Put it under a microscope. Make it permanent. You already made it permanent. You published the essay. That's different. That was catharsis. This feels like commodifying my pain. Dr. Kim tilted her head. Is that what it feels like? Or are you afraid of something else? I sat with that. I'm afraid it'll define me, I said finally. That I'll become the guy whose wife was on dating apps. That this will be my whole story. And what's wrong with that? Because it's not my whole story. It's just the part where I finally woke up. Then write that. Write the waking up part. Write what came after. Write the apartment and the therapy and the date with Rachel. Write the reconstruction, not just the destruction. I thought about that. Would that help people? I asked. Did your essay help people? According to the comments, yes. Then a book would help more, because people need the whole story. They need to know it gets better. That choosing yourself doesn't end in isolation. It ends in freedom. I took the meeting with Monica. She was in her 50s, sharp as a blade, with gray hair cut in a severe bob and glasses that made her look like she could read your soul. We met at a coffee shop in Manhattan. She ordered black coffee. I ordered something with too much milk. So, she said, getting straight to it, are you interested in writing a book? Maybe. I don't know. What would it even be? A memoir. Your story. But not just the marriage and the leaving. The aftermath, too. The therapy. The rebuilding. The learning to be alone without being lonely. That's the part people need. And if I don't have a happy ending yet? Even better. Nobody trusts happy endings anymore. They want honest endings. Real ones. I sipped my coffee. I'm not a writer. You wrote an essay that 100,000 people read. You're a writer. I mean, I'm not a professional writer. Neither was Cheryl Strayed when she wrote Wild. Neither was Glennon Doyle when she wrote Untamed. They just told the truth compellingly. That's what you do. I sat with that. Can I think about it? I asked. Of course, but don't think too long. Your story is timely. People are hungry for narratives about self-preservation. That night, I opened my laptop and started writing. Not the book, not yet. Just thoughts. The coffee was still hot when she said it. I wrote for 3 hours straight. Didn't edit. Didn't stop. Just poured everything onto the page. Breakfast, the moving van, the empty apartment, the text I'd sent. Then I wrote the aftermath. The hotel, the storage unit. The therapy sessions, the deposition. Then I wrote about the apartment, the blue bedroom, the bookshelf, the peace I'd found in choosing myself. By 2 a.m., I had 15,000 words. It wasn't a book yet, but it was a start. The next morning, I called Monica. "I'll do it," I said. "Excellent. I'll send over the contract. But I have conditions." "I'm listening." "I don't use her real name. I don't use anyone's real name. And I don't write this to punish her. I write it to help people who need permission to leave." "Agreed. Anything else?" "And if she contacts me about it, if she tries to stop publication or sue or whatever, you handle it. I'm done engaging." "I can do that." We hung up. I sat in my apartment, looking at the 15,000 words I'd written in a single night. This was it. This was me choosing myself, again, not just in leaving, but in telling the story of leaving, in making my pain mean something. The book took 6 months to write. Not because I didn't have the story. I'd lived it, bled it, survived it. But because putting it into words meant revisiting every moment I'd spent 3 years trying to fix, justify, or excuse. Monica was patient, would read drafts and send notes like, "This chapter feels too forgiving. You're still protecting her." "Why? Go deeper here. What were you actually feeling? This is good, but it's not true yet." Dig. So I dug. I wrote about the journal entries, about the bank statements, about the breakfast where everything broke. I wrote about the moving van, the storage unit, the empty apartment. I wrote about therapy, about Raj's couch, about my brother's quiet support. I wrote about the deposition, about Lauren's apology email, about the strange grief of mourning someone who was still alive. And I wrote about after, about the blue bedroom, about Rachel, about learning that being alone didn't mean being lonely. The final manuscript was 287 pages. Monica sold it in 3 weeks. The title, Kept My Options Open, a memoir of marriage, betrayal, and choosing yourself. Publication date, July 15th. The weeks leading up to publication were strange. Advanced copies went out to reviewers. Early buzz started building on Book Talk and Bookstagram. People who'd read my original essay were excited. People who hadn't were intrigued. A brutally honest look at modern relationships. Finally, a breakup story told from the other side. This book gave me permission to leave. But with visibility came exposure. People started putting together pieces. Even though I'd changed names, details were specific enough that people who knew us could figure it out. Jessica texted, "I read the advance copy. Thank you for changing my name, and for being kinder to me in the book than I deserved." Patricia called, "Daniel, I just want you to know I'm proud of you, for leaving, for healing, for telling your story. Lauren may not understand that yet, but I do." Even my ex-coworkers reached out. "Dude, we always wondered why you stayed so long. This explained so much. Good for you, man." But Lauren stayed silent. No calls, no emails, no cryptic social media posts. Just nothing. Part of me wondered if she'd even read it. Part of me hoped she hadn't. The book launched on a Tuesday. I did a reading at a bookstore in Brooklyn. Expected maybe 20 people, friends, family, the occasional curious stranger. The room was packed. Standing room only. I read the first chapter. The breakfast scene. The moment everything broke. When I finished, the room was silent. Then someone in the back started clapping. Then someone else, then everyone. During the Q&A, a woman in her 30s raised her hand. "How did you know it was time to leave?" she asked. "How did you know you'd given enough chances?" I thought about that. "I didn't know," I said. "Not for sure. I just knew that staying was killing me slower than leaving ever could. And at some point, you have to choose yourself. Not because you're selfish, but because you're the only one who will." Another hand went up. A man in his 50s. "Do you regret it? Leaving the way you did?" "No, I regret staying as long as I did." What would you tell someone in a similar situation? That you can't love someone into choosing you. You can't be patient enough, understanding enough, small enough to make them see your worth. If someone treats you like an option, believe them, and then choose yourself instead. The questions kept coming, for over an hour. People wanted to know how I'd healed, how I'd rebuilt, how I'd learned to trust again. I answered honestly. I hadn't figured it all out yet. Was still in therapy, still learning, still healing. But I was better, and that was enough. 2 weeks after publication, the book hit the New York Times bestseller list. Number 7. Monica called, screaming, "You did it! You actually did it!" "We did it," I said. "No, you did it. You told the truth and people responded. That's all you." I hung up and sat with it. A year ago, I was sitting at a breakfast table watching my wife swipe through dating apps. Now I was a best-selling author. Not because I was special or talented or even particularly smart, just because I'd told the truth. And apparently, the truth was something people were hungry for. 3 weeks after publication, I got an email from an unfamiliar address. No subject line. Just, "I read the book." I knew who it was before I opened it. "Daniel, I read the book. I've read it 3 times, actually. Trying to find the lies, the exaggerations, the parts where you made me the villain. But there aren't any. It's just the truth. Told plainly. Told fairly. Even when you had every right to be cruel. I don't know what I expected. Maybe I thought reading your version would make me angry, would give me ammunition to fight back, to tell my side. But you already told my side. You included my apology email. You wrote about my struggles. You even acknowledged the ways I was hurting too. You were kinder to me in this book than I was to you in our marriage. I don't know how to fix what I broke. Don't know how to apologize in a way that matters when apologies can't undo harm. But I want you to know. I'm glad you left. I'm glad you chose yourself. I'm glad you survived me. You deserve everything good that's coming. Lauren, I read it twice. Then I closed the email and didn't respond. Not out of anger, not out of spite, just because there was nothing left to say. She'd read the book. She'd understood. She'd finally seen what I'd been trying to show her for years. And that was enough. On a Saturday in August, I met Rachel for coffee. Not a date, just coffee. We'd stayed in touch after that first honest conversation, became friends in the way people do when they recognize something real in each other. "So," she said, stirring sugar into her latte, "best-selling author. How does it feel?" "Surreal. Like it's happening to someone else. But it's happening to you." "I know, I wrote a book about the worst thing that ever happened to me, and now strangers are thanking me for it. It's weird." Rachel laughed. "Welcome to memoir writing. You read it?" "Of course I read it. I've been your unofficial cheerleader since day one." "And?" "And it's beautiful, honest, painful, but also hopeful, in a way that doesn't feel forced." I sipped my coffee. That's the part I was most worried about, making sure it didn't feel like a redemption arc. Because I'm not redeemed. I'm just better. Better is enough. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" Rachel said. "Sure." "Are you ready now?" I knew what she meant. "For a relationship?" "Yeah." I thought about that. About the apartment I'd built. About the therapy I was still doing. About the book I'd written. "I think so," I said. "Not to replace what I lost, but to build something new. With someone who sees me as a choice, not an option." Rachel smiled. "Good answer." "Why, you asking?" "Maybe, if you're interested." I looked at her. Really looked. At her smile, her eyes, the way she was nervous but trying not to show it. "I'm interested," I said. "Good, because I've been waiting for you to catch up." The book continued to sell, continued to resonate. I did podcasts, interviews, readings, talked about marriage and divorce and choosing yourself over and over until the words felt rehearsed. But every time someone came up to me after an event and said, "Your story helped me leave," or "Your book gave me permission to choose myself," it felt new again, felt worth it. Because that was the point. Not revenge, not vindication, not proving I was right. Just helping someone else recognize that they deserved better, that being someone's option wasn't love, and that choosing yourself wasn't cruelty. It was survival. On the anniversary of the day I left, 1 year exactly, I went back to the storage unit. Most of my stuff was in my apartment now, but I'd kept the unit, kept paying for it, because there were still boxes I hadn't unpacked, things I wasn't ready to look at yet. I opened the one labeled Important Docs and pulled out the marriage certificate. Looked at our names side by side. Daniel Marcus Chen and Lauren Patricia Walker. Once upon a time, those names meant something. Meant partnership. Meant future. Meant forever. Now they were just words on paper. I thought about burning it, making some symbolic gesture, but that felt too dramatic, too final. Instead, I just folded it carefully and put it back in the box. It was part of my story, part of who I'd been. But it wasn't who I was anymore. I drove to my apartment, where Rachel was waiting with takeout and wine. "How'd it go?" she asked. "Good. Weird, but good." We ate on my couch, talking about nothing important. About her day, my day, the book tour schedule, the new project I was thinking about. At some point, she leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm proud of you," she said, "for surviving, for healing, for turning your pain into something that helps people." "Thank you for seeing me," I said, "for being patient while I figured things out. You were worth the wait." We sat there in my blue bedroom apartment, surrounded by my books and my art and my choices. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Not because someone else chose me, but because I chose myself. And that made all the difference. The end. Epilogue. 2 years later. The email came on a Wednesday morning in October. Subject: Thank you. I almost deleted it. Got dozens of emails a day from readers, some grateful, some angry, some just wanting to share their stories. But something made me open this one. Mr. Chen, you don't know me. But 2 years ago, I read your book at 3 a.m. in a hotel room after my husband told me he was keeping his options open. I left the next morning, got a lawyer, filed for divorce, moved out. And today, exactly 2 years later, I got engaged to someone who chose me first, who sees me as a priority, not a backup plan. I wanted to thank you for telling your story, for giving me permission to tell mine, for showing me that choosing yourself isn't giving up, it's growing up. Best, Sarah. I read it 3 times. Then I forwarded it to Dr. Kim, to Monica, to Raj, and I thought about that morning 2 years ago, about Lauren at breakfast, swiping through options, about the choice I made to leave. It had been the hardest thing I'd ever done, and the best. Because I'd learned something that morning, something I tried to put into every page of the book. You can't make someone choose you, but you can always choose yourself. And sometimes, that's the only choice that matters. Dedicated to everyone who's ever been someone's backup plan. You deserve to be someone's first choice, including your own.